Hello. This is sort of a political thing, and it's about China. Somebody asked more questions about China, and I think China is misreading the world political events. And I just doused quite a bit of it, and I asked if China's military preparing for war with America. Yes. Do they want war with America? Yes. The Chinese military wants war with America. Does American military want war with China? The answer is no. And when I did it the other time, where I said probability, I want to say what is the probability of military conflict with China within the next 24 months? All right. I'm just dowsing right now. What is the probability? Yeah, it's really high. Really, really high. It's like almost 90%. And right now it's 55%. So it's going to move up much, much higher. And it's basically going to be because of China's aggression towards her neighbors in the United States. And I do, now China has a perception of our strength. They think they can defeat our military. One reason why they can do it. They're misreading our military. We're significantly more stronger than they can see. And we probably have a lot of secret weapons and things. I kind of say that to now when I did go in the future about 2019, was it? Yeah. When's the next election? 2000, 4 years, 2020. So the second half of 2019, a lot of changes occur in the world. And a lot of it looks like to be natural events, volcanoes, earthquakes. And a gentleman reminded me about Edgar Casey. He was reminding me about the Earth axis flipping, and I forgot all about it, because, in the 80s I was waiting for the Earth to flip, and it never happened. But they know they can measure certain frequencies and parameters of the Earth, and she has been changing, and it looks like she's going towards this flip of the poles. And I believe it was 180 degrees. I should. And the last time this happened, it was that was Noah's Ark, was the flip of the poles. And this time is going to be significant as well. So war is really going to play a minor. It's going to be there, but it's going to be a minor issue compared to Earth changes. It's just going to overwhelm the world. And we'll see. I'll monitor that. I mean, I'm not 100% on board with that, but that sort of makes sense. And then the new weather patterns. And let me just ask if it's 180 degrees or 95. And let's just go, are the poles going to shift? Are the poles going to shift north and south? Yes. Will this be 180 degrees flip? Is this 180 degrees flip? No. Well, how many degrees is this? So it's a flip to the equator. Is that correct? Oh, that's hard to believe. I'll double check that. So a quarter flip would put the poles, North Pole and South Pole, will be in the equator. That makes sense because where would that put the United States? So we're up here. It really, I don't know how much it changes. So the pole goes over. I used to know all this stuff because this was, this goes way back. Edgar Casey talked about this, boy, the 1930s, and a lot of other people have followed up. They found, Antarctica has grass and things like that underneath. It's frozen. It was a tropical place. I do have it. Underneath it was Lemuria, on that little peninsula that goes out. That was Lemuria. And one of the Atlantis civilizations, period, was up by Peru. And they were coexisted together at the same time, the Atlantans and the Lemurians. And as time went on, there are other parts of the world where Atlantis was, including the Mediterranean and maybe off the Azores. But the major one was off Peru. And that was a long time ago. And I believe all those skeletons you see of the 16-foot beings that they've dug up, those are Atlantans by and large. They were 16 feet. They lived for a long time. Over, how long did they live? Over 300 years. And there was a disproportionate amount of male to female. The males were like 15% of the population, 16% I think I got. Isn't that interesting? And so the bulk of the population was female. And they were very scientific and esoteric. They knew the universe much better. They still exist. They didn't disappear. You know, people go, oh, they went under. No, they weren't really humans. They weren't humans, and they're off planet. I believe the Lemurians. Let me see if the Lemurians were human. The Lemurians were about 5'5", and they were a shorter group. Were they human, please? Were the Lemurians human? And the answer is oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Are you saying that the genetics, we carry 35 to 40% of Lemurian genetics? Yeah. How much Atlantan? Oh, about 15, 20%. Well, what about the Irish? Boom. The Irish are 40% Lemurian, 45%. Isn't that interesting? So you go around the different races and you tie in. We have the genes of previous civilizations that were hybrids themselves. And the new species coming up, we're going to be, we are hybrids ourselves. And you can go and on YouTube, there's a few that are very high frequency. They're essentially true. And they're describing people, women that get pregnant and they carry them for a while, and then the ETs just come and take the baby, because they were impregnated, these women, with some off-planet genetics. So supposedly there's humans that live on these ships, on an interdimensional ships that are off our planet and live on other planets. And that brings me to your incarnations in other planets. I had that dream once where I was with a relative and we were reading each other. We were like in a lotus position over Earth. And we were reading each other's auras, and we were pointing out, you know, like, it's exciting. Like, wow, you had an incarnation on that planet. Oh, I heard that was great. And he goes, yeah. And that one's really tough, that planet, you know. So we have had incarnations on other planets. And you could possibly have, let's ask this question, simultaneous incarnations on Earth and on another planet. All right? And you're having oversoul. And you should maybe take a look at Jane Roberts' Oversoul 7 book from the 1970s. And I always found it was an interesting book. So, is it possible to have, or is it common that people have an incarnation now and simultaneous have an off-planet incarnation? Yes. How many incarnations does a typical oversoul oversee at one time? About four. About four. How many do I have right now? Okay. What percent of the population of Earth? Well, let's just say Americans. What population of Americans, what percent, have incarnations on another planet simultaneous with this Earth planet? What percent? About 35%. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? And so that's part of the evolution, and that's why we shouldn't be in the fear state. You know, there's a purpose to this. The souls are evolving, and we're going to evolve into another Atlantis. And the problem with the political bent is everybody's trying to control the outcome of what we're going through now, politically, culturally. I mean, the reason we're being attacked culturally with all this weird stuff is, and beliefs from secularism, is because they want to, the overlords control the human souls. That's it. That energy, they need that energy, and it's really bad. So Trump is better for a lot of these things. I know you're trying to see Trump is going to be the savior. He's going to do his job. He's not perfect, but he was necessary and important that we don't get taken over by this darkness in our culture, and we're going to step back, and we're going to regain control, and it's going to be important to have this regain this ethos to slide into the transitions of what's coming up. I don't think we would have a chance. I think because you're going to have the timelines, and I told you, I believe I doubt we have 3 timelines, major timelines, and that is being fought over. And then one group, they're so bad, they're not going to even be in the 3 timelines. Okay, thank you, and that's it. Bye bye.